Wave after wave of desperate Russian attacks were crushed by the Ukrainian defense while trying to reach their encircled forces near Dobropillia. As the fields and trenches were covered with dead Russians, their commanders decided to blow up a poisonous pipeline and create a gruesome scene of self-destruction. Euromaidan Press media outlet reports, with battles going on for the village of Novotoretske, Russian infantry continued to pour in, but they were unable to overcome the pre-positioned razor wire obstacles that Ukrainians had turned into kill zones. The vicinity of Novotoretske reveals devastating scenes, which soldiers called the razor wire massacre. Some were piled up in the anti-tank ditches as Russian assault troops tried to crawl through them, with Ukrainian soldiers catching them in the process. One by one, they were cut down as explosions tore through the wire barriers. When the smoke cleared, the field had turned into a lifeless maze of corpses, fragments, and twisted barricades. Russian commanders are desperate to reconnect with their cut-off forces near Dobropillia as the encircled groupings are running out of food, ammunition, and any chance of relief. But for Russian generals, failure here means more than just a lost battle. It means disgrace, demotion, or even worse. So they press forward, blinded by the sunk cost fallacy of their own decisions, as every failed assault justifies the next. Euromaidan Press says, the reality, however, is that the Ukrainians have prepared the area so thoroughly that every new attack only adds to the body count. What the Russians are calling rescue operations have, in truth, become suicide missions. Between Novotoretske and Volodymyrivka lies a fortified belt that Ukrainian engineers had spent months refining before the Russian breakthrough happened. Even in areas the Russians have technically captured, they can't clear or hold any of the Ukrainian fortifications because Ukrainian drones rule the air. 2 full rows of dragon's teeth block the movement of armored vehicles, followed by coils of razor wire and deep trenches that channel attackers into predictable paths. Any soldier who tries to cut through the wire is instantly spotted from above and eliminated. All vehicles have to stay on the roads and into pre-designated kill zones as the fields are blocked by fortifications and engineering vehicles are unable to move up to clear them. In desperation, Russian commanders committed an act that stunned even their own men. Euromaidan Press says they ordered the detonation of the ammonia pipeline near Rusin Yar, just to the rear of their forces and close to Volodymyrivka. Overall, the stakes near Dobropillia are now existential for the Russian command, and they are throwing men and machines into a fortified kill zone they can hardly overcome. Due to the desperation, they are even willing to gas their own troops, if it means harming the Ukrainians too. Yet each destroyed Russian vehicle clogs the trenches, each fallen soldier feeds the razor wire maze, and each failure deepens the Russian disaster.
NATO Secretary-General Mark Rutte said his positive support for Ukraine remains strong ahead of a meeting of NATO defense ministers in Brussels Wednesday. According to Associated Press, the meeting aims to drum up more military support for Ukraine amid a sharp drop in deliveries of weapons and ammunition to the war-ravaged country in recent months. The ministers will also debate a call from NATO's commander to lift restrictions on the use of their aircraft and other equipment so they can be used to defend the alliance's eastern border with Russia, Belarus, and Ukraine more effectively. A series of mysterious drone incidents and airspace violations by Russian warplanes has fueled concerns that President Vladimir Putin might be testing NATO's defensive reflexes. Some leaders have accused him of waging a hybrid war in Europe. Moscow denies probing NATO's defenses. At the same time, new data on Western military aid to Ukraine is showing that it plunged by 43% in July and August. Compared to the first half of the year, according to Germany's Kiel Institute, which tracks defense and financial support to Kyiv. The fall occurred even after European allies began buying American weapons for Ukraine under a financial arrangement known as the Prioritized Ukraine Requirements List, or PEARL. The United States does not donate any equipment to Ukraine, either through the scheme or bilaterally. Denmark, the Netherlands, Norway and Sweden have been buying US weapons to send to Ukraine. But Italy and Spain, among other members of the 32-nation alliance, are sending very little compared to these NATO partners. Many countries, Italy among them, are struggling with economic challenges. France believes European money would be better invested in Europe's defense industry rather than that of the US, and it does not intend to take part in PEARL. The deployment of air defenses to NATO's eastern flank has not yet deprived Ukraine of military resources.
One of the issues we were discussing is this new program, which we launched only in August. The program where the United States is again delivering essential, lethal and non-lethal military support to Ukraine, paid for by allies, already 2 billion committed. And I have every reason to assume today that many other countries will sign up. This is crucial stuff, including air defense systems and particularly interceptors, important for Ukraine to make sure that their civilian population, their crucial infrastructure is as much protected as possible against the continuous Russian onslaught. So I can assure you that the EU and NATO are really working very well together. There is no doubling at all. Ursula von der Leyen, the President of the European Commission, myself, the relevant commissioners, including Kubilius and of course Kaja Kallas and the others, we are all making sure that we make use of the strengths of the two organizations. And NATO is good at the hard stuff, which is the standard setting, the capabilities, the military side. And the EU has the enormous soft power of the internal market, the enormous soft power of making sure the money is there, making sure that the nations in the EU are aligned. And this combination is crucial to work together. It's one of the things the Russians try to divide. They are not successful. We are working very well together. I'm really positive. Of course, part of my task as Secretary General, and this has been the case for my predecessor, for me, is to make sure we keep the support for Ukraine as strong as possible. And I'm really proud that as a collective alliance, we are able to do that, to make sure that Ukraine stays in the fight as strong as possible. I was thinking of the guy behind you, but you can also ask the question. There have been many questions about whether NATO is capable or not to make sure that if something happens in our airspace, we can act decisively if necessary. And we can. I can really assure you. The problem is this, that some are saying, not inside NATO, but sometimes in the public debate, that if a plane, a Russian plane, be it intentional or not, enters NATO airspace, that anyway you have to take it down. And I don't agree. I think you have to make sure that you are absolutely convinced whether yes or no it is posing a threat. If it is posing a threat, we can do everything needed to make sure the threat will not materialize. But if it is not posing a threat, a strong alliance, and NATO is so much stronger than Russia, we are infinitely more capable. Then, of course, our role is to make sure that that plane drifted outside of its airspace into NATO airspace will gently be guided outside our airspace and then make clear to the Russians, stop doing this. It was a question for...